And here we go. Y'all ready for this? Let's go.
Yeehaw.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am Lord Zath, your substitute maincaster, I don't know how you want to call it for See or After. And I'm joined with the dynamic duo of Oskins and NTG Golfman. Hello, guys.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
What's up, everybody? I hope
Golfman
everyone's
with the
having
gang
a
signs.
wonderful weekend.
And here we go, guys. Day 3, King of the Sea. Now, you guys casted both Day 1 and 2, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
We saw some pretty crazy stuff day 1. Day 2 is a little more tame. But some of the stuff on day 1 was absolutely absurd. I think we actually got to talk about that. There's something about a Ragnar that happened to rip into a Kraken, I believe it was.
Yes, and that caused a really cool way to talk through it and then look at it later. And then I put out a video about why the Ragnar's probably OP in King of the Sea. Now, right now, in this particular day of King of the Sea, we don't have the ability for teams to ban ships. There's only the global bans, which is Petropavlovsk and Kleber. So we can't see teams looking into this and saying, well, we're just going to ban, Ragnar right off the bat. But tomorrow, I believe we can start seeing some bans in the playoffs, which means I wouldn't be surprised to see Ragnar show up on that list quite often.
I would not either. I think I've even heard some rumblings behind the scenes that there have been teams that have been trying to figure out what's going to be their replacement for the Ragnar. The Yu Yang has been floated, but at the same time, the Yu Yang does not kick nearly as much butt as the Ragnar does on its own, but it does provide that radar, which can trap, a DD or something that your friends in the back can start murder facing him. So I mean,
Yep.
it's Smollend in a pinch, maybe. I do have to ask though, because I think we talked about this before, at least me and Golfman did. I was not surprised to see the Petropavlovsk ban, but the Kleber ban? Like, really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
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 I went
Okay.
and checked the voter rolls of the bans, and it seems like the NA and EU servers both voted in favor of the Petro and the Kleber, and the Russian and Asian servers both voted in favor of the Petro and the Marceau. So it was going to be either of the tier 10 French destroyers, and the Kleber just ended up having more votes, probably because EU had its back. So that's what happened.
So I could see that, sure. I was
Yeah,
still
but-
just surprised,
Why?
Well, okay. I mean, first off, I didn't realize there's a second ban, so wham wham. I showed up late to the party. I need to do my reading. But further, like, it was Marceau would be the thing that I would think it is, because the Marceau, I'm used to seeing them in DD Hunter packs. I realize that the Kleber can be used in 4 or 5 ship groups where it can kind of nibble and just kind of move all over the thing and wolf pack it down. But still, I've seen the Marceau excel in so many engagements that are not Kleber Hunter groups. And I guess it's probably because Kleber Hunter groups were knocked out or something that people fell back on the Marceau. But I think the Marceau is a deadlier, scarier weapon in terms of its crazy DPM and its possibilities. But I mean, at the same time, yeah, the Kleber's got its consistent harass at range. So they're both very deadly.
As is my cat.
and like yeah. And like in terms of a destroyer, the Marceau is way more dangerous. In terms of a light cruiser, I would definitely give that to the Kleber, hands down. With the AP pen, the long range shell ballistics, the reload booster and the fire chance, it's certainly would more excel in the light cruiser, air quotes, role. And that may be why. But like talking about replacements for the Ragnar, the unique thing about the Ragnar, I think, is the 30 millimeters of HE pen, which is good for lots of the tier 10 cruisers. The 25 millimeters of side plating, which is excellent for working against other destroyers, and also the large health pool. And the only other destroyer that I'm thinking of off the top of my head with those perks, with 2 of those perks, is the Elbing, which I guess it does also have the high HE pen as well, but it does not have nearly as much damage output, nor Well, it actually has torpedoes, but it doesn't have radar. So I don't really know what takes the Ragnar's place if it gets banned tomorrow.
I'll be
Well,
honest, I'm not quite
so
sure either.
you forgot one other thing, and that would be the fact that the Ragnar also has a heal on
Mm.
top of its hit points, on top of its armor, and on top of its ability to pen anything it wants with its guns, just about. So, the Ragnar definitely is a, you know, is really just it's kind of like the full package for an event like this. So we'll have to see. But for alternates, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. Now, going back to what you guys were talking about earlier with the Kleber, I think that it's just the Kleber is easier to play than the Marceau. With the floaty guns from the Marceau, it's a little bit harder to. You really you need to get a lot of games in that ship in order to get a feel for the guns and in order to get a feel for those ballistics and how they hit and stuff, in order to make it all work for you. So I really do feel like you're absolutely right. I think Oskans, you said we're going to see a lot of the Marceau replacing the Kleber. We'll see Marceau wolf
Oh,
packs
definitely.
instead. So it'll be interesting to see if teams choose, especially starting tomorrow, to ban the Marceau and the Ragnar. They're essentially saying that the destroyers in this format are what's enabling teams to win more than lose, right?
I have actually heard there was a podcast I think that I heard where there's an '07 member saying that after the last COTS, I think '07 didn't win. And he said that
Mm-hmm.
internally, a lot of humble pie was eaten and a whole lot of sharpening up the swords and their knives because they want this one. They want this one bad. That you don't dethrone the king and expect it to stay down. So they said, or at least what was voiced in this podcast, was that the best comp won, and the best comp involved, I guess, a lot of mobility, a lot of DD play. Maybe it was coming out of Asia or something. And
Mm.
you would have to expect that if there's any possibility for DD's high mobility, all that stuff to kind of kick in, there got to be people eyeing the crap out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine how they're going to go forward in terms of bans, especially when they get into the higher places. But I guess we don't have to worry about that for today. But that'll still remain a mystery as to like what's the scary stuff going forward. Because if it was a mobility comp just outdid it,
Right.
do they have to pretend we just can't deal with mobility and we have to force static play? I don't know.
So
That'll be interesting as to how they can make that work.
So, like you were mentioning, how '07 wants this bad, and I am sure that they are watching this cast, one of us, the three
Mhm.
of us. I'm sure that they are watching Mini Hannibal. I'm sure they're watching some of the other streamers out there as well. And what they want to see is what are the comps that are being played by what teams, and how are teams able to defeat those comps. And I think that's a really important thing. On day one, Raptor and I watched a game, and I don't remember off the top of my head, but I posted it to YouTube under the title "Defeating the Death Snail" because we saw two
Mm.
Haragumos with two Nevskis, and that's exactly what it is, right? It's a Death Snail.
That
You
was
go
the
up, you smoke.
STV game, wasn't it?
It might have been, it might have
Yeah.
been. I'm sorry, just they blur. We've Raptor and I cast 16 games last weekend, so like it's hard to keep them all straight, but we talked at one point. Raptor said, "Well, how do we do? How does it was NACL? I think it was NACL. And it was how do they deal with that situation?" And I said, "Well, they got to get a luck chuck torpid. Maybe they just got to keep trying to whittle down what's in the death snail, and if they're lucky, they're able to break something." And 30 seconds after that, their Haragumo goes down to luck chuck torpedoes. I mean, it was a thing of beauty, right? And that was all it took, and that whole death snail collapsed. But it was about patience and it was about positioning. Those are the kinds of things that teams that are watching other teams play need to learn, need to take back to their teams to say, this is how we handle this kind of situation. So I wouldn't be surprised if '07 is looking at this and doing the same thing right now.
I fully expect it. I know KS clans have they have internal clan reward systems or whatever. If you go out there and you scout games and you look at stuff and whatever, I think they do something where they'll divvy out steel or coal or whatever that they get from brawls and things, is a way of just kind of paying people back for, hey, thanks for helping out, because they take COTS seriously as well, and I'm sure other clans do exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine they don't. I mean, people that really want this, they want it bad. Um,
Absolutely.
all right.
So,
Yeah, I have it on good authority that the NACL guys were scrimmaging every day between the qualifiers and today. So
good.
I'm, best good friends in there. I'm rooting for them. We'll see if they make it through. We won't be casting any of the other games today, but I'll catch up with them later. So that'll be fun.
So I don't know
So,
if you guys have the ability to show the prize pool, but
yeah.
Oh yeah.
towards the beginning of the day, I always like to show people what people can be earning from participating in King of the Sea. And it's interesting that Wargaming has opened up their pocketbook a little bit here, and everybody that participates automatically gets something. So that's kind of neat.
It
Yeah.
is. I mean, not only are you getting camos, not only are you getting steel, but you're actually getting cash. I mean, that's just amazing. That's wonderful. I think like the first time, at least that I can remember seeing a straight cash payout was Verizon.
Yes.
And unless Verizon is sponsoring King of the Seas and I'm not aware of it, then this is actually coming right out of the pockets of Wargaming, which is great. I mean, they're I think they put money. They bought the COTS property, I think, wasn't it? Somebody said that they didn't buy the whole property; they bought the European property. But
Hmm.
still, I mean, COTS actually dropped cash on this is great, we want this, and now
Mhm.
they're dropping cash on the King of the Seas, following right up on there. I mean, could this actually be a commitment toward Wargaming thinking, hey, this competitive scene's kind of growing? Maybe we could support a little. Maybe there could be something here. I think that'd be nifty.
Yeah, completely agree with you. I think that'd be awesome. So we've got the prizes here, and yeah, we hit that. So what else do we need to talk about before we get too far into the actual game here? What am I
Next
missing?
map, or the first map, it would
Ah, there
be
you go.
hotspot, right?
Yeah,
So
let's
switch over
move
to the
on.
map.
Where's my maps button?
So
There we go.
Wisconsin and I, we discussed hotspot. I want to hear, Zath, what you have to think. What's your opinion on them adding that Charlie cap in the middle, and how do you think it affects the overall flow of this map? Because I'd never seen this cap layout before.
Ah, I love it. I think it's great because in hotspot, it's so often that you end up putting a large number of forces into what used to be C is now the D cap, and then you send a little flanking force typically off to the other side of the map. And what I love about this is that in a lot of teams, what they would do is they would send one destroyer to the middle just to kind of spot right where the enemy's assets are going. But now that CCAP is there, that almost guarantees that every team is going to send somebody into the middle. And that almost guarantees some very interesting action early on. As teams spot maybe each other in the middle, they try to back each other up, and then those people that back people up get slapped themselves by the battleships in the back. So there's a high risk, high reward setup with this, but I really think it's a brilliant move to really encourage gameplay in the middle of the map on this map. So we've seen some crazy battles here already, and I'm so glad that we're starting the day off with hotspot. I think this is going to be good.
I think the inclusion of the center cap completely changes everything about this, and I'm completely here for it. Um, I I've played this on clan battles multiple times. I've seen it in different whatever. I've played it in randoms, and I got to
Mm.
watch as team after team after team just got drawn to that C cap like it was a bug zapper. Just let's go to the light because they were too scared to pull off to one side, too scared to pull off to the other side. And I'd watch somebody actually sit there so long and so hard that they just got wrapped and murdered.
Yeah.
Like that one little change just opens up the map so completely. I am astounded by that. So props to
Yeah.
Wargaming, because I don't know if anybody saw that one coming. Like first time I saw that picture, I was confused. I was like, something wrong here.
Ah, man. But see, the thing is, like I said, you're gonna have destroyers that go there anyway most of the time. But now there's a tangible advantage, right, to going into the middle and getting that. When you get that cap and you start ticking up points for your team, I mean, that's huge. So
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to
absolutely.
that.
And I think it's also interesting. It definitely shifts the power. It helps shift the power away from that very entrenched Delta cap. And yeah, Tying back to clan battles a little bit, we had been discussing earlier how to possibly counter that mobility strategy. We saw it pop up at the end of the Tier 6 clan battle season with a bunch of Farragets and smoke screens and crawling smokes, whatever. And the way we were able to defeat that, FFG was running a 2 battleship set against all that crazy nonsense, was to use our initial health and our initial firepower to push them away from the cap zones and start reeling in that points advantage really quickly. And if you can force that mobility team to have to come back, then their maneuverability at distance and their blind torpedoes, they're just not going to be super helpful because they now have to push in. So that was the only way that we were able to counter that crazy strategy without any carriers in the previous season. So I don't know, maybe we'll see something along those lines.
I'm gonna ask Zath the question about this.
Ooh.
I saw somebody. I think I actually saw 2 different teams do this, but so okay, just to give the audience a little idea, there's usually in clan battles there's going to be a contested cap and then there's going to be a safe cap. Safe cap's the one that's kind of on your side. Pretty much it's a given. It's a freebie. And then they're going to have one, and then contest is one where you get that stare off. And there's something called a safe to safe push where you commit a lot of assets, you go over to the way to the safe cap and you push through and you take theirs, usually with some kind of holding force or a distraction. With as far away from the spawn as A and B are, and the fact that C and D are so grabbable if you don't contest those, is there a chance for a safe to safe push and then trying to bunker up behind those islands between A and B and just dare them to push you? Do you think that's even possible?
No. No. I think it
Okay.
takes you way too long to get there, because if you're gonna do that safe to safe push, especially if you're the alpha spawn, you're probably gonna stay in the B line to stay north of that big island, and then the other line going into A, so that the enemy team doesn't see you, right? Because once they spot you, especially if they see all of your big ships and maybe some of your cruisers heading that way, the gig is up. So I really I can't see it being that useful in this kind of environment unless you're bringing a Kleber comp and you're putting the Klebers out in front to grab A, and then having them head south, grab B, they gangbang whatever they discover in B, which is most likely a token flanking force of maybe 2 cruisers, with the support of the ships up in A, and then together they turn their attention on C. To me, that's the only way I can see that work, because you really need speed in order to pull this off, and I just don't think, other than really Clavers, you don't have anything else that can get you that kind of speed and relocation early enough. What do you think, Oskins?
Well, what I had seen, there was one that stood out where they had, I think, they had flanked super wide, super wide with maybe a Stalin comp, but the Stalin just basically hugged off in the middle of nowhere, trying not to be spotted. I think they dropped a smoke line covering C to at least give a little additional mobility, and then they had cut up and just charged it. So yeah, it took a long time, but I think it completely caught the enemy flat-footed. Like, who is even going to try this? And yet that's exactly what happened. So they were able to kind of wrap and then start claiming the map and see if they could pinch C. Mostly after that, it just became a holding action, which was so weird to me, because you would think like you would not even be able to touch that safe cap for the first like 6 to 8 minutes of the game. And if you're taking enough resources to get a real safe to safe push off the board, how would you even have a chance in heck of holding Delta, Charlie, and the safe cap? Like, there's just not enough. I saw it work once. I've never seen it work again. So I figured I'd throw that out there if maybe it was a curveball kind of strategy. But yeah, like you, I can't imagine we're going to see that much in the higher levels. Looks like the match is almost done. We've got we're just missing one more person before they're going to be able to ready up.
If you guys don't mind me mentioning real quick, a little bit just how I do things on my channel, and you guys, of course, maybe this is something you do something similar on yours. Because we have a 5-minute delay, guys, those of you watching on my channel, you're going to see a death pick icon that's going to show up in chat, and that's an indicator. If we're waiting for a game to start, that's the indicator the game has started. Okay. While the battle is unfolding, if you see a death pick icon, that most likely means we just saw a ship die, and it might be time to get your cameras out and clip a really cool moment. If you see 2 or 3 death picks in a row, I mean, holy shit, get your stuff ready. Like set your watch for 5 minutes, go to the bathroom now. You know what I mean? Like, so I try to do that to help you guys in chat keep an idea of what's going on. But yeah, you see that death pick icon, 5 minutes to greatness, ladies and gentlemen. Do you guys do something like that
Nice.
similar on your streams, or is there anything that you do to try to help your viewers out to kind of know what to expect coming up?
Not in the slightest.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do not have a brilliant genius incorporation like that, sir. And
Okay,
who
I'm
knows?
sorry.
Maybe in the break, I've got a stream deck, and I can have it send a
Yeah.
Twitch message, so I can push a button. That's not hard.
And that's
But
what I
so
do. So
yeah, absolutely. And if I could just mention really quick,
please.
I'm changing up the way I'm doing the code give outs, starting this stream and moving forward. Basically, just as soon as a battle ends, right as we go on to break, which for you guys would probably be around towards the end of the battle, I'm going to pull the winners for the codes, and then I'm just going to immediately relaunch the giveaway again, so you guys will have maximum time to get into each draw.
Yeah, for me, I'm just trying to keep up with the rat race as quickly as possible. So, I think you are extremely lucky, and I am jealous of you, Mr. Zath, in that you've got Sith Kitten that's going to be hanging out in the office, throwing out codes, making stuff happen, making it rain. So, yeah, if you have a chance to hop into Lord Zath's channel, you're going to see giveaways and things popping up all the time. So you can have a really interactive experience there. Me, it's just me.
Yeah, same here.
It's a
All right,
little
we're
slow.
getting into it here. The
But-
match just dropped.
A couple King of the Seas ago, that's what was me too. So it's all about just getting used to all this kind of stuff. And yeah, the match